Next, Spain, beginning the investigation to the causes of the blackout that disrupted millions of lives across the Iberian Peninsula. A court is examining potential sabotage of critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, a tragedy has emerged. Amid the blackout, 3 elderly people died from suspected carbon monoxide poisoning after using a generator to power an oxygen machine.
As authorities in Spain and Portugal work to get the whole of the Iberian Peninsula reconnected to the power grid, questions are being asked what caused the two countries to suddenly go offline. A massive outage hit at around lunchtime on Monday, plunging businesses and transport networks into chaos.
En lo que respecta a las causas,
about the cause, what the Red Electrica technicians are telling us is that at 12:33 this afternoon, 15 gigawatts of generation were suddenly lost from the system, and that they were lost in just 5 seconds. This is something that has never happened before.
que no había ocurrido jamás.
It is still not known what caused the sudden drop in power supply, which was equal to about 60% of Spain's needs at the time. Authorities in Portugal blamed it on a rare atmospheric phenomenon, while some in Spain speculated on a rapid rise in temperature of 5 degrees shortly before the outage. Spain's electrical provider Red Electrica said a very strong oscillation in the network had cut off Spain's grid from the rest of continental Europe, leading to the system's collapse. Getting both countries back online was a gradual process because of the risk of overloading the network yet again. Spain was able to call on France and Morocco to supply emergency power to reboot its own networks, but Portugal was forced to do so on its own. The episode underlines deficiencies in Spain's power grid, which is relatively isolated from the rest of Europe, and the country's shift to renewable energy sources, which now supply 56% of its electricity, has not been fully matched by upgrades to system management.
Let's get the analysis of bringing in Sophie Udubasceanu, who is an energy and base oil expert at the ICIS in London. Sophie, thanks for being with us. I'd be interested in hearing from you what your theory is about this outage. Do you have any insight you can share with us here at France 24?
Well, I can't speculate on the causes because no official cause has been set yet. There's still an investigation that's going on. But what I can say is that it has been a colossal blackout. It plunged, Spain into darkness, and the impact was strongest in transport, in health, in communications, but also in the chemicals and energy sectors. And obviously, we've had a similar situation in Portugal, and that's because those two systems were synchronized. In a way, those electricity interconnectors do not stop at the national borderlines. We had power flows with France reversing to support that Spanish grid. And I guess one of the strongest impacts was the fact that we've had various refineries that had to be shut down as an emergency protocol kicked in.
This is quite an amazing story, isn't it, in many ways, Sophie? And people are wondering whether, if it's Spain, Portugal today, well, who might it be tomorrow? Is there a possibility that a similar issue could affect other countries across Europe at any particular time?
Again, it depends on the cause. Now, obviously, I have seen statements from the head of Spain who said, there's still an investigation happening. No theory has been discounted, so it could have been a cyber attack. It could have been a combination of factors. What is clear is the fact that there is that vulnerability in the transmission grids, especially when there is a lot of renewable generation there. Yesterday evening, the systems were able to be brought back online due to the gas-fired generation. So a lot of that was used. In fact, for today, the forecast showed that the demand for gas for power plants was going to be more than double what it normally is in order to bring that system back to a regular level. And it just shows that how dependent our society has become on electricity. The impact is going to take a few days. There are some plants out there, some units that were shut down in an emergency stage, and it's going to take a few days to get them back and get all that capacity back up to full.
Once upon a time, Sophie, we did things in a manual way. We looked things up. We just sifted through, a pamphlet or a book to find out a fact or find out the time of a train, for instance. But now, of course, we do it all electronically. and those kind of things, of course, all crashing as a consequence or a knock-on effect of what we're talking about. You mentioned about renewables, regenerated energy. Is this, am I hearing there that the green factor could be a problem?
Not necessarily a problem, but obviously we are dependent on electricity to be produced when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing. So obviously, if you have a large part of the energy mix, like basically that's what we have in Spain right now, then this does expose the grid to the issues, right? If you need to have a stream of baseload electricity produced, that needs to come from a nuclear power plant or from a gas-fired power plant. And in the Iberian Peninsula, a lot of that is renewable. Obviously, there is the sustainable aspect of it. It is cleaner. It is greener. So there is a good part of it. But obviously, this sort of also kind of sheds light on the fact that we do need to have some reserves in there. We do need to have that baseload capacity available for when issues like this happen in the future.
Should the structure of the network be changed, Sophie? Obviously, it is a strong point that we can all supply energy from country to country, but it seems here that might have been a bit of a problem, that things didn't stop at borders in some way, shape or form. I don't mean to sound sort of retrograde in saying this, but would it be more sensible to break down this kind of big pan-European structure and maybe be more national?
The issues with that is that that would increase the cost of electricity, because what we have at the moment with such let's say an integrated transmission grid throughout most European countries, it means that electricity can be exchanged, and in a way it sort of helps to reduce price volatility on the wholesale market, which ultimately reduces that end consumer price. So if we were to remove or let's say this interconnectivity, to put barriers in, then overall that would probably, I would say, that would even make the situation worse, because if there is a price volatility that's exposed in Greece, there is no way to kind of temper that. There is no way to kind of bring electricity from other countries like Italy.
I can hear what you're saying. And of course, there was a thanks to Morocco, wasn't there, from the Spanish Prime Minister for Morocco's help in getting Spain back up.
Yes, it's true. I mean, we did have the French TSO also coming in, and basically they were supporting the Spanish TSO in bringing back everything. And now, normally, what's interesting is the fact that Spain is a net exporter, which is really interesting. In this case, obviously, it had to reverse the flows. It's quite interlinked with Portugal, as I mentioned. And if you look at Europe, the electricity markets, the gas markets, they're interconnected. That's why we have reactions in terms of price. We have reactions in terms of capacity everywhere. In a way, France was there to kind of pick things up, and they do benefit of a lot of nuclear capacity there as well. So that's base load capacity.
Sophie, thank you very much indeed for giving us a breakdown of a number of things. Of course, it's all subject to basically what happens next, isn't it, in terms of the inquiry, but at least you've been through a number of possible scenarios for us and given us some real insight. Sophie Udubasceanu, energy and base oil market expert at ICIS in London. Thank you, Sophie, for joining us here on France 24. We appreciate your time.